Hello everybody, всем привет. Today we're going to look at building events in Heroes of Might and Magic 1. And what I have open down here is my current, this is like my current build before events have been added. We have some functionality, but you'll notice we don't pick up the wood. We aren't able to flag the sawmill. We're not able to pick up treasure. We're not able to get spells at the spell shrine. We're not able to flag mines, things like that. So that's kind of the limited functionality that we have right now. So what should happen uh, when you um, when you visit the windmill, for example, you should get a message here, and it gives you some ore in this case. But basically, the windmill gives you 2 of a random resource for the week. And then you click OK, and you go on to the next thing, and it plays a little music sound. And same thing, like you flag the alchemist, and it lets you know that you're going to get 1 mercury per day. You get a chest. You have the option to choose between some gold or the 500 overhead for buying some experience. And I also want, like, the routing isn't really letting me target these squares or these tiles as well as I would like. So I'm also going to try and fix that at the same time, because this tile is marked in the map as a hex value 86. That's a treasure chest. And then when you pick up the treasure chest, that disappears. But the treasure chests are placed on the map in the map format, and byte 8 of that, the 10 byte tile map, byte 8 would show 86, and that's how the game knows that there's a treasure chest here, for example. And I think 87 is the fairy ring. But that's, I'm just going to go into my prompt here, and let's see what happens. So I give it some background that I'm rebuilding the game engine from Heroes of Might and Magic. I have this routes file that will not target certain event tiles, and it marks them as non-traversable. I want them to be traversable and trigger an event. I give it a nice list of different entrance tiles that I that I compiled when I was reverse engineering the map. I was trying to figure out what all this stuff was. The fixed monster. This is like the griffins, for example, in Claw. That's an example of a fixed monster where the byte 9 encodes the number of creatures that are in that fixed monster. Another game, like Dragon Pass, is another map where it's a fixed amount of dragons in the center of the map that are protecting you from the other heroes. Anyway, just lots of structures that will trigger events, and each one has a hex code associated with them on the map. So anyway, I want to make it so that routes H will allow the hero to place that destination X on those event tiles, which are currently marked as non-traversable. And when the hero lands on the event tile, an informational window will display with some information for the hero, and some actions will take place. The informational window display is built from the BYBUILD.ICN file, which is inside the .agg file. And this is basically what that looks like. It's, this is the top, this is, I guess, the right corner, but you would just mirror it to make the left corner. This is the spacer in the middle, and this is the bottom corner. And then I haven't used this, but this was just some other bar that was also in there. And we have the specification here, which just again shows some different offsets. There's no real offsets here. I guess there's an offset of 1 on the top here, but the width here slightly mismatches. So they're slightly, like, this has a bit of extra stuff that comes out over the edge of the image for 3 pixels. So anyway, we're back to this. So I've also added, so I explained which, each of these messages, 0, 1, and 2, which one is the message box, and basically I verbally described how to build it, and that you need to reflect, you need to mirror this image and add the second, like basically mirror this image and put the pieces together to create this window. So I describe how to do that in this paragraph. And then I've also added a file, a CSV file of Heroes of Might and Magic 1 events list, which I can pull that up here. So I didn't do the exhaustive list. I just did kind of quickly available things in Claw, which is my favorite test map. So like 86 is the chest. This is the text that you get in the box. Already visited isn't really applicable. And then I display some of these, the resource icons, which in this case, it shows gold as one icon, or I use the hero screen 10, which is this icon for experience. But I actually, after looking at this later, like looking back, I think it might actually be this icon, which is in EXP MRL, so experience morale. And I think the luck for the fairy ring might also be this, but I initially used this value. So, or this this rainbow from the hero screen. So I was, there's several times that the icons get repeated in the AGG file for different sizes, different things. And I think back in 1995, that was like the quality of graphics. So they weren't using SVG graphics, things like that. So, so some of this is a little bit like guessing which icon is which. And I made a guess here and I think it was wrong. But I'm not going to beat myself up about it. It's pretty easy to fix later on. So, the action buttons here are over in system. So this is like the OK button, and this is, the undepressed button, and this is when the button's depressed. So you have that animation for each one. And so you have the action button 5 and 6 is let's see, 5 and 6 is yes. 7 and 8 is no. So that is for the treasure chest. It's, do you want to take the gold? Yes. Or do you distribute the gold to the peasants for experience? That's no. I also added this text between icons. This here is the number of message box spacers. First message, and then if there's a second message. But let me go back to BYBUILD here. We have this. And if I actually go up here again and we look at like the chest example, so there's spacers here, 1 spacer, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 spacers, so that makes this rather tall actually. And yeah, this really does look like, so this is definitely the gold value from resources and not, so this is this value 6. It's not the resource 32 gold value 67. It's definitely not this one. The hero screen, it's probably not this one. It's probably this one. That just looks a lot more. That just looks more correct. So I think I got that one wrong, but I'll fix it later. So yeah, where were we here? So I was counting the spacers. So I specified in this text here that we were counting the number of message spacers for the first message, and then if there's a second message, we would do that as well. And is the title or the tile image is removed, like after you pick up the object, after you pick up the treasure chest, it disappears. And then the sound file that plays for that message. And then if there's another sound that plays after that message, well, there's a pickup sound that's supposed to play when you pick up a treasure chest. And then I also specify like what should happen in the game memory. So if yes, we credit the chest value of gold to the player. If no, we credit the chest value of gold minus 500 experience to the player. Check if the player has level up, and if so, display the level up screen. And I actually end up, I think I need to break that out because there's other events that can give you experience. There's like the gazebo, for example. So I also specify the fairy ring, which gives you some luck for the next battle. And you know, I showed you previously the luck icon, which was 11 here on the hero screen. The peasants with a desire for greater glory in the thatched hut. And like the logic here is that credit peasants to garrison if space is available in the garrison. If no space is available, display a rejection message. Also things like flagging the sawmill, visiting the windmill, the alchemist, you know, the actually having to like read the text because I couldn't quote the text verbatim. I'm not, I mean, I know the game pretty well, but I'm not that big of a geek that I can remember the exact like text that's displayed for each one. So I had to go in and like review that, type that up a little bit, and then it will show it shows the resource when you flag a structure like that. That's the icon that's displayed. And it gives you 9 and 10 in the system, which is another okay. There's a different variant of okay, and it's kind of like, well, which one do you choose? Like, I don't really see the difference between 0, 1, 0, 2, and 9 and 10. I just picked one. So you know, there's multiple okay cancels, and it you know, it's probably, if we look at the spec here, what is the spec for this? It's probably like a different size. So like, let's just look. 1 and 2 is 96 by 25, and 9 and 10 is, okay, it's not the size. It's 96 by 25. So I have no idea what the difference is between those. Maybe if you know, leave a comment, but your guess is as good as mine. And then I put the text below the icon. So basically what I'm trying to show here is I just did some basic specifications of what the different notifications that come up for events are. And like here, I'm missing the old knight appears on the gazebo. He's like, oh, my liege, I've taught you all I can. I didn't fill that out. I mean, I filled it out later, but and also the obelisk, you know, you come across this obelisk, and this, you know, would show you the puzzle map for the ultimate artifact search. And then if you've already visited it, you've already been to this obelisk. And you know, random resources and fixed resources, there's not a lot showing you, but it does flash. So it plays a randomly selected pickup sound. The pickup sound's a little different each time, which is kind of interesting. The image tiles also removed, just like the treasure chest. And then in the summary window down in the lower right corner, it gives you this message that you got a small quantity of a resource. And this, you know, this is the resource name that was this was a random resource type. So whatever the random resource type, which I generate in system memory when I initiate the game state from loading the map. And then this one, the resource type, is determined by the tile object because it's pre-specified on the map what type of resource it is. So this was my initial set of events. Like, let's try and build an event system structure for the game. So that's what I input. I right here, it's an Excel file, but I put it in as a CSV file. Make sure I save that in case I made any changes. So specifying that I put that in, I give it a little more context again, that if the event causes the item to disappear, then I want the item tile to be removed from rendering and the status changed to a plain tile. If a tile is visible and a player visits a second time, then the text from already visited should be displayed in the box again. And then just saying again, an event can be triggered by a tile or something on it. possibly display a pop-up message that requires user input, either a single action button, usually saying okay, or a yes, no button, or accept, decline. Actually, what was it? There's an okay, cancel. I thought there was an accept, decline, but maybe not. Maybe that's there's actually a number of these button ICN files, so it could be somewhere else in there. There's so many of them, I lose track. And then I basically start suggesting some structure. I say, let's have an event event CPP file to handle these events and specify their logic and contents and sequence when an event is triggered by a hero landing on a tile. The event displays the window. The hero can click the action buttons, yes, no, okay, accept, decline, and the window should be able to catch those clicks. It overlays over the viewport in the center, and there may also be a battle event that triggers, but for now, let's stub that out and put that at the end of event.h. I also want to cover the loading of the buttons and icons, the sound effects, the message text, and the size and construction of the message box window. The event should be triggered by the hero moving to the tile that triggers the event. And then again, I'm trying to get this event tile traversable by the hero so they can target it with their X at the end of their route. And I've also included some example screens so you get an idea. Again, these were the example screens. This is the X at the end of the route. And then I gave it a few of these screens so that it kind of knows what we're trying to do. It's beautiful that these multimodal AI tools can actually look at these images and process it and understand it a little bit. So it looks through this info, takes some time processing. It comes up with an event event CPP, which loads the BYBUILD.ICN, the system ICN, and should actually probably move these to resources.cpp, where I load a lot of these game resources. I should actually probably refactor that. Anyway, we make a few changes to just make certain objects passable so that you can actually traverse the tiles where like a resource is or a treasure chest. And then it makes some small changes to my main game structure. And so let's see. I don't remember why I pasted this. I think it gave me this patch and I was trying to figure out where it actually belonged in there. I didn't fully understand one of the pieces and I had already replaced it. So sometimes the patching instructions that you get back from the AI are a little unclear. So it gave me a clarification. And then I gave it some more code for the event tile trigger. Asked another question, almost, making sure I get it in the right location. Okay, then I think I figured it out. And then we're also adding the, we're adding some, let's see. We're adding a movement processing tick as well, which I think handles, like as you're moving, that's when the event is going to trigger. The event system tick sound is going to happen, which I think was going to is going to be the thing that plays the sound, if I remember right. Okay, so there's my initial, that's basically the initial code changes that I made, and here's that initial build. So something happens with the wood. something. And it's a little trickier to click the OK. We did get some wood, so some wood did get added to our treasury. We flagged the sawmill. We didn't really stop there. That's interesting. Oh, event not yet implemented. And this is interesting. There's sort of this gap in the middle of the box. And actually, if you look here, the spacers are aligned at 0 over here, and they actually look okay on this side, but on this side they're misaligned. So this gap in the middle is from these spacers being incorrectly aligned. I think these are being left aligned, and they should be aligned from the center. Okay, so something happened. The text is not being displayed correctly, or actually no, hey look, the text is actually being displayed up here at the top. So just the offset, I can kind of see something resource something, and I see well, actually that's all I see, but so the text is being displayed, it's just the box is weird. So there's some offset issue there. And if we look here, we just picked up something. It should have been ore, but it was credited as wood. Oops, okay, that's not fully working, right? And let's see what happens if we go to this. We gain control of mine. It'll provide you with one something unit, something per day. And so again, the same little box issue, and some, you know, at least the right resources is displaying. So that's that was the initial progress after this this first attempt, and then I guess my subsequent questions were just figuring out how to integrate some of this, because it was a bit of logic to add into the game, the main game loop. So the event screens are sort of working. There's some misalignment. It's like the wood and the resources needs to be lowered. What does that mean? Oh yeah, I meant the so this screen. So this was a little high. So this icon, the resource icon. There's a line in the middle where the left and right sides. Can we fix that? It seems like an alignment issue. And the window, if you look here, the window was actually not centered in this view, in the viewable area of the map. It was centered in the screen. So I called that out, and yeah, so not in the center of the general game screen, but in the viewport, the viewable adventure area, not the entire screen. And so when gathering the resources, the updated text is supposed to flash on the summary window, this lower right corner of the game, and the amount of the resource and an icon of the resource from resource 32, which is these, is supposed to flash, and it shows up for about 5 seconds and then reverts back to the hero name and army screen. There's no blank screen with an OK. And then when the dialogue screen is open, the cursor should be the standard cursor 000 instead of the movement cursor. So let me actually just pull that up again and show you what we're talking about here. So this message, even though it says resource something, is actually supposed to appear down here. And then this is the movement icon. This is the horse galloping icon instead of the actual like this cursor over here, which is the little arrow, little arrowhead arrow. So those were kind of the initial bugs that I called out. And so it highlights, yeah, there's a seam in the middle. It actually should probably be, yeah, is to draw the left piece so the right edge meets the right piece's left edge exactly. Yeah, so I think it does this, splits it in two and puts them in, like anchors them from the center. The icon's too high, so it moves it down. Snaps the location of the dialog box to a slightly different location instead of the regular screenshot, it moves it there to the center of the viewport rectangle. The resource piles, it adds another function, draw resource flash, and I think it's going to give me a new event file for that. And then just changing the cursor here is done in game main, where when the event system is open, basically the cursor should just be the default cursor. And so yeah, it gave me some new event files and a few notes about how to integrate it. And yeah, and I just asked for some clarification. What is the hero loop? I don't see that. And then it gave me some explanation of where to put it. And then we got the next version, which I will open here. So this build, let's see. So that's kind of cool. It gave us the fairy ring with, I believe that's the wrong icon. So we're getting the mill event. We picked up the wood. It's a little off center, but it's kind of working. That looks better. There's no title here. And actually, the title is actually, I think, just too high. It actually says sawmill here again. So the title is off a bit. Again, where's the title? The title is actually here in, it's just barely visible right there. So the title is there. Let's do no, and let's see what happens. Did we get 1,500 experience? No, we got 1,000 experience. That's strange. Okay. That's just not implemented. Okay, this was picked up, but it's a small quantity of wood. That's not what we... Again, it's showing up here as wood. This was gems. So the gems were credited correctly from the windmill, but still the ore is picked up as wood. And then we were back up here. Let's see what happens if we flag this mine. Okay, that's showing correctly. Let's just run over here and see what the other mine is. And maybe let's check the gazebo and see what happens at the gazebo. No? Let's see what we got for experience. Now we only have 2,000. So it's giving us something, but it's not computing the amount correctly. Okay, we did get 1,000 experience from that. And okay, the gems mine is working. Let's see. We also found some wood in the form of gems. It was credited as gems, and look at that bug. The flash was displaying over the other screen. Interesting. And do we have an infinite experience bug here on the gazebo? Yes, I think we might. Yep. So there's still some bugs, and the hero is not leveling up. Let's check the obelisk quick and see how that looks. Okay, so the obelisk it's playing the music. It's sort of handling the events correctly, but there shouldn't be music the second time. So the obelisk is a little wonky. And let's go have a look at the peasants and see what happens here. Yes, but we don't have space for it in the army, so it didn't do anything. And quickly run over here. Okay, we found some more wood in the form of mercury, so that's a bug. We found that. Alright, so I think we have kind of a sense for what the bugs were in this one. So let's see. This is looking correct, but again, the gazebo title is up here. This is what it's supposed to look like. This is the chest, and this is missing here. So some of the sound effects are not playing, and I'm explaining they're in the sound directory versus being inside the AGG file. The title is not displaying on most events, which I think initially I didn't notice it, but it was actually up here in this. It was just off-centered in the event. There should be a gap between the yes/no buttons. I didn't notice that, but let's just pull it up quick and verify that. See which build I have here. Okay, it takes a second to pull up the... Okay. Well, I guess I had already implemented that before I saved this build that I'm showing you right now. For the mines, you're supposed to look up the mine type. Let's see, was that... I think the gems mine was where... So I think this is a build where I've actually probably already fixed some of these. So this might have been the build of the next variant here. And then I was getting a sound... The sound was causing a crash. And I had to figure out... I had to play around with the sound channels for a little while. And so I have some back and forth where it's crashing. I gave it the sound, and the AI started going off on a weird tangent where it wanted to play this, create its own library to play the sound files. And I was like, no, I already have a perfectly good library. You know, is it redundant to have two sound playing functions? Yes. So, so I had to kind of pull it back on track and make event use sound.h. And it still was causing this crash, which I think it turned out to not be, and I'm just saying, nope, it's still crashing, just having it continue to look. And we were chasing this what we thought was a sound bug, and it had modified sound H to play at the standard 22050, which I think is the frequency from Heroes 2. So to the extent that there's some Heroes 2 code that the AI has been trained on, it wants to sample or play the sound samples as if they were sampled at this 22,050 hertz instead of the 11,025 hertz. So anyway, we have an issue with looking up the sound files, but eventually it figures it out. Let's see, still crashing. Eventually we do get through this, promise. Okay, so finally we got it working. The tile is not displaying on the events. The title is still not displaying on the events. It actually is, but it's not visible. The resource pickup is always displaying wood, and the text is missing. Let's see if that's... So I basically specify these are the resource types that we're dealing with based on what is displayed on the map. So this is how we're going to identify what those fixed resource types are. And they should be stored in memory. The amounts are generated at runtime. So let's look it up there. And what was actually happening is, let's see, maybe I can pull it up in this version. What was actually happening is, you can see here in my resource piles, a lot of the random resources were actually being generated as wood. So I thought it was a bug with the identification of this, but it was actually somehow my resource piles one of the dangers of AI is it had changed this resource random generation function in, I think it's in my maps file, had been changed to just randomly default to generating wood. This is way too much wood. Almost everything's wood. The ones that aren't are the resource piles that were generated as random. Like the random resource piles might be something other than wood. Everything else was wood. So even though the game displays this tile, like this one actually is wood, but even though the game displays this, it's being generated as wood. So that's what this turned out to be over here. And see, so I also the mine carts, it was not identifying the mine type correctly, and so I said you need to look that up based on the mine frame type. Like we know the sawmill, we know the alchemist slab, those are or the alchemist, the mercury refinery, whatever you call it. I think it's technically called the alchemist. I like to call it the mercury refinery or the alchemist lab sometimes. But we have to look that up from this tile type. And okay, so that just giving it more specific logic for this is how you actually need to figure these things out. Now, what was actually causing that crash wasn't the sound, it was this dangling pointer. So we were not handling our pointers correctly for the event definition. So, and then the resource flash text, we added a resource name to the resource flash so that it would actually generate the right name. And then draw resource flash now draws this text correctly above the icon. The resource always showing wood. The type should have been coming from this. That lookup's unchanged. If wood was always showing, it means the pile wasn't being found. And then the mine type detection. So it takes a while, so I have to go through this again. Okay, so the title's still not displaying. Let's take another look at that. And then the resource pickup's also not working. Well, that's because I didn't realize that everything was being randomly generated as wood. So I thought it was in events or the game was doing some lookup. You know, this is in engineering work, you have what's called technical debt, where you need to go back and fix something. Well, in AI, you have comprehension debt, where you don't understand where something is being processed. Now, I roughly understand that the random resources are being created in the map and the render map functions when I'm creating the game state. And what I didn't understand is that the AI had gone in and changed that random resources generation to default to wood. And so I eventually will figure this out, but the game has a look at this, or not the game, the AI has a look at this. So look up the resource type before calling on result and check that. Okay, the title is still not showing. And again, I think the title is showing up here. It's just not, I didn't notice this still. So I was chasing down a bug that didn't exist. It was actually the Y location of the title was just not there. Fixed resources are still being designated as wood. Again, I'm not seeing it. I see it now in hindsight, but I'm not seeing it there. And then look them up in the game state stored at that location. They should match either way, and then we should display the event when they are picked up. So I'm getting warmer here and saying the game state is where the values of these resources are generated. Like I actually generate that, I dump that as a debug value to test things, make sure things are working. The root cause is in map CPP. The resource type is one of these, or the default is 0. On some maps, the L2 index isn't in that range, so it defaults to wood. So the fix reads the L1 index directly from the map tile at pickup time. And that means the resource 32 icon, and these map directly to resource types 0 to 6. So these values map directly to the resource. So the game is displaying it correctly, but the resource pile lookup is kept as a fallback for quantity, and the whole lookup now happens before the on result. So the data is still intact. So I got a weird crash here. That was strange. And then when I pick up fixed resource now, it displays the correct resource, but the value is always 15 in the image. It is the default. This value needs to be read from GS resource piles. So there was something, and basically this was a pointer error. So it was missing a pointer in memory. And or maybe it was running out of memory because of the event. So here we just allocate a bunch of memory to sound. That's fine. Fix that. The resource piles can be 0 if would. It wasn't always at this. The quantity still comes from this value. The pile lookup now runs before on result, so RP collected is still false and RP quantity is valid. So here I finally pick up on the wood problem. And it has a look at that. The map files, column major, row major. I don't think that's necessarily the issue. Yeah, so this happens frequently with whenever the AI is looking at the map file. It's like, aha, it's column major, not row major, and then it's like, no, actually that's fine. Never mind. The AI always jumps to that conclusion. It's funny. And the actual bug is here where we again, this default value is wood. So if it can't find these values, it defaults to 0. And I think what happened, yeah, I remember now. So I had specified the L1 index as where it should look it up. And it's actually, or sorry, I specified the L2 index, and it's actually the L1 index. And I actually think that this goes all the way back to my initial, I think my initial prompt here, I had said something about this. Where do I talk about resource pickups? Thought I talked about resource pickups somewhere here. And you know, it might actually be in that CSV file. Let's see what we have here for the logic here. No, okay, I don't have that, but somewhere at some point, I think I said that it was a level 1 index and not level 2. Checking if I had any other text here, but I guess I didn't. So I might be misremembering, but I was pretty sure that I had made I made that mistake. So anyway, it was looking it up incorrectly based on the level. I had said that those values should be the level 2. So these values would be the level 2 index value, and they are actually the level 1 index value. And so since it was never finding those, it was always 0. So it was always being generated as wood. So that's probably how that happened in the map.cpp file change. It probably happened from me basically getting my my levels mixed, my map layers mixed, level 1 versus level 2. So let's see, we're almost caught up here. Yeah, this wood statement here. Okay, so it fixed the original code to the level 2 index. Now it's actually just level 1. Gave me an update, and this was the result for the sawmill, for example. Actually, no, that was the result. Okay, see here, you'll see this is actually above the ore mine, but now it's showing a sawmill message for the ore mine, which is not correct. This isn't above the sawmill, this is above the ore mine. So, and then I was also getting the gazebo wouldn't process. I start talking about this 1,000 experience, infinite experience bug that you saw in that previous build. So we have to add this is revisited flag or some kind of visit count, something like that. And then this needs to be looking up the mine type correctly. So it adds a revisit flag and it makes an attempt at fixing the mines. And I guess that fixed everything, except the experience is still being credited to the hero when they visit the gazebo. So the gazebo now displays the correct message, but the logic is still giving the hero an extra 1,000 experience. So basically we have to apply this logic in the game main file. And let's see, first visit is added to event result. So basically for the gazebo, we gate that a little bit, and then that fixes it. I run into some other AGG file error. It can't find. Can't find the AGG file. Still didn't fix the experience bug. Now it, for some reason, just loses all context. None of our fixes made it into the original files. They're still in the original versions. That is, I hit stop when I see that garbage. I'm just like, okay, Claude's being retarded. We're going to have to fix that. So, so no, use your latest files. I'm using your latest files. They're almost all working. You dropped the fix for you found the small quantity of resource name in the summary box. You also didn't fix the experience granting bug in the gazebo. So then I want to rewrite this part of game main CPP. I'm starting to give it more targeted instructions because this was the bug we also had with the treasure chest, that it was defaulting these values. And I was like, this needs to be read from my game state in memory, where these are actually randomly generated to be these quantities of gold. And then the experience is computed as the gold value minus 500. So it makes that fix. And then here it basically had added all of this. The game logic has been added to the game main CPP. And that's not really good. Like, it's just going to make game main CPP huge. And the events, there's a lot of events, so it's going to just blow up that file. And I use that a lot when I'm dumping into the AI. So that burns tokens. So like, would it make sense to break out apply event results into a different function? Yes, it actually would. So it creates event actions. So there's events, which has the actual like event code. And then event actions is like the logic that the game has to do in memory when you hit those events. And maybe it makes sense to put those two together, but right now I'm just like, just break them into separate files and we'll deal with it later. So I ask it to generate this and it splits that out. I have to make some patches for game main. Almost it compiles, but the player resources is not being credited for resources on pickup now. And so it adds the RP collected is true. So basically, if the resource pile is collected, then it has to process that differently in memory. So it wasn't it was missing one logic step of and RP collected when this actually happens. And it should credit it if it's not RP collected. So if it hasn't been collected yet, it credits that and then mark it collected and credit. Yeah, so it credits it and marks it collected. So it basically just had the logic backwards. So now that's working. Let's update some documentation and write something about events and event actions. So it makes some notes about the sound effects we did for the events. Talks about how we use the BYBUILD.ICN tile. Makes some notes of the new files in our architecture, and makes some notes about how we look up the mine type from the resource type mapping table, and the level 1 versus level 2 index for resource piles. And that's pretty much it. So let me show you the final result here with the resources working. So let's go pick up some wood here. And we're going to go to a sawmill. How much experience did we get? We got 1,000 experience there. Haven't implemented the spellbook yet. We got some ore. Let's see if it credited correctly. And we still have this flash bug there, but that should disappear when we go to the castle bug. The ore mine is being displayed correctly. Let's go check out, let's check out this. Oh, that's interesting that triggers again and says nothing happens, but okay, the music still plays the second time. That's another bug to fix. How much experience did we get there? We got 500 experience. So the chest experience is now being correctly processed. We have 2,500 experience now, which is correct. Let's see. Do we get the infinite experience bug? Nope. So that bug has been fixed. We have a gems mine. Let's see how the resource. Okay, we got a small quantity of gems. It's a little off center, but not bad. And yeah, so it's looking reasonable. So we have basic event structure working, and you know, there's still some bugs, but those are all kind of fixable things. We have the broad event architecture working. It's in a separate file. I guess the biggest bug that's annoying me right now is that when you pick up the resources, that flash that doesn't disappear when you go into the castle screen or the hero screen. So that's a pretty simple fix. We just have to basically disable the flash when we go into those screens. But we'll probably fix that in a future video.